All right. Good morning, everybody. Time to get this show started. We have a couple people rolling in yet, but drastically slowed down. So I think most people should be here by now. Yeah, this is your monthly update about ACAP. Hopefully, everybody's just as excited as I am and ready to discuss ACAP for a little bit. Eric and I put together a little presentation for you today. Oh, don't forget, this meeting is being recorded. We will post it on our website. Once it takes a while for it to like save and get to us, and then IT gets it up on the website. But we will record it and post it there if you need to follow up with anything down the road, and we'll get started. So the plan for today, we'll go over a brief program update, give you a delegation agreement update, some commission staffing changes that are coming down the road, and a little update about Penn State Center and NRCS. And then I'll turn it over to Eric. He's going to go over our draft quarterly report forms that we put together and reimbursement documents, so we can explain to you guys how to get paid. And then at the end, we'll have a nice long session for question and answers, hopefully cover any issues you have and help smooth things out. And as always, if you have questions as we're going, don't hesitate to raise your hand, throw them in the chat, or unmute and ask away. So.
You're fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
I'm on now.
And please don't forget to mute your microphones. Thank you. Okay, moving on. As of yesterday, we had 65 delegation agreements that were signed and returned to the districts, or returned to the commission. I can't thank you guys enough for that. That is, overwhelmed with how many districts decided to enter the program and really run with it. So again, big thanks to you guys out there, all the districts that decided to do that. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing how you guys implement the program. Amy has been diligently running these through the comptrollers and through legal staff to get everything fully executed. We do have 49 of those are fully executed at this point, which means we have a total of $113 million encumbered, which is a number that encumbered amount pop up frequently. We at the commission have to have all the funds encumbered by the end of 2024. So hopefully by then that number will say 154 million and we'll be good to go. So we also, Amy processed 47 advance payments for a total of $18 million. So 18 million is out in the district's hands right now. Some of you have the money and are starting to run with it, which is great. Again, just to cover the advance, the districts will be advanced half of their yearly allocation. The total apportionment for the life of the agreement will be split over 3 allocations, and you'll get half of those allocations up front. I think I have that here on a slide. So what that'll look like, you're getting your 22-23 allocations right now. As these agreements come back, we're making the advances on those, on that yearly allocation. Once the agreements are fully executed, everything's in place, we'll make that first advance. The second advance will come this July. So I got dates wrong on there. So disregard that 24. So your 23-24 will be processed in July of 23, and your 24-25 will be processed in July of 24. Apologize for that typo. That's my fault, but get that fixed up. Again, we have to have all the funds encumbered by 24 here at the commission. So what that means for you guys, come July of next year, we're going to have to take a close look at how the districts are moving funds through the system, how many open contracts you have, how much money you have spent, and if you really have a plan to get that money fully on the ground by 26. If there's a district out there who's not moving money through the system, hasn't accepted applications, doesn't really have a good plan, we may have to disencumber those funds and re-encumber them to somebody else. Don't want to tell you, like, don't don't get all worried about this. It's just like, this is like a rare situation that if something happens, or if you don't think you're going to get the money spent by 26, you're having a hard time getting applications and contracts, please let us know, so that we can really get those funds moved around to places where they're going to be effective and get it on the ground. So just an open discussion point there to let you guys know, like, we, from the federal government, we have these tight time frames of this encumbered amount and the fully expended amount. So we do have to have all the funds fully spent by December 31st of 26. That includes the districts, right? That's not just us. We have to report, the commission has to report to the federal government every quarter on encumbered and spent amounts, and they're going to want to see at the end of that 26 time frame, they're going to want to see all that money fully expended. So just keep that date in mind, and yeah, we'll keep working through this as we go. We did have a ACAP press event kickoff in Lycoming County, I think last week. It was a really good spot up in north of Williamsport on the Matthew and Samantha Solnecker farm. They have a beef operation now, but they're looking to implement some ACAP and EQIP projects there on their farm. Beautiful spot, very good kickoff, a lot of good keynote speakers. Secretary Redding spoke for a while. Senator Yall, who is was instrumental in getting the bill passed to get us this funding. Of course, Doug spoke, and Matt Long gave some good talk as well, and as did the Stallnecker. So if you see any press out there about it, I think State Media Services was running with it and putting it out to a bunch of people. So there'd be some newspaper articles or news clips about it. Keep an eye out for that. Staffing. I think we have our 4 regional positions. 3 of those, I believe, have been offered and accepted. Eric can quote me on that. And I think the 4th region we're waiting from HR yet. But it looks like we've got 3 of our regional positions. They're pretty firmed up at this point. We'll hear more once that's like official. HR gets back to us with like, yep, we got an official hire date and all that stuff, and it's in motion. We can kind of let you know who those people are and where they'll be situated and some contact information for them. But it'll be probably a week or 2 until we get all that information set in place. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting those people on board and getting them out there helping you out.
Hey, Justin,
yeah,
this is Chris. What can you just review quickly? What exactly will those program specialists be doing?
Everything that Eric and I can't do. Don't have time to do. But on a serious note, yeah, they'll be like your go-to contact person. Okay. They'll be doing quality assurance, quality control visits, admin questions, help you with technical assistance things, coordinate with the center, help you, any program admin related things you need from us at the state level. They'll help you out. They can coordinate with different DEP agencies, different DEP staff for permitting, and anything really program related that you need help with. I kind of envision them being like my old position in dirt and gravel, like a mix between policy approvals, QA, QCs. If you have like a $500,000 project you need approval for, they can come out and do those field visits, help train your staff, do admin training, any technical assistance stuff you might need help with, and coordinate with the center on that. So that give you an idea.
Yep. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
And if you guys think of any duties for those people that you would like to see them do, by all means, shoot me an email or give me a call and we can talk it through. Like, those are brand new positions and we can make them what we need them to be at this point, and we can kind of adjust their duties as we go. So if there's some things you districts feel you would like them to do, yeah, reach out to me and let us know, and we'll work on that. Great question. Thanks, Chris. So the Penn State Center is moving forward. We're working on a long-term scope of work and budget right now. So we got them some money up front, short-term money to get them running. And now the next hurdle is long-term scope of work and budget for the to last us through the end of 26. We're likely going to present that scope and work of budget to the commission in May for their approval. That way, we can have it all in place and ready to go for July 1st, and they can run with it from there. We are going to have them focus on training and technical assistance. That's, very similar to the Dirt and Gravel Road Center. Do a lot of technical assistance things. The one bonus, they have received approval to contract with an engineer to help provide some engineering for ACAP, and also move forward with maybe some job approval authority things for us here at the commission, but I'll talk about in the next slide. Another big happening here is we've got approval to move forward with our own GIS system, very similar to the Dirt and Gravel Road Mapper. Eric will go over kind of the quarterly reports, and they're very similar. We hope that this GIS system, when it's up and running, will fill out your reimbursements automatically, kind of like the Dirt and Gravel Road system does. You go in, enter a quarterly report, we approve it here at the commission, it then automatically generates your replenishment request. We're talking with the programmers and with Penn State. It seems as though that system should be functional for the first quarter of 23. So that data will be ready for you guys to start inputting data. Obviously, we'll have to do some training to get everybody up to speed on how that works. We'll be obviously running with that here as soon as we get the system to a point where it's ready. But look forward to that system. Commission is meeting with Penn State and the Center and NRCS on Friday to continue talks about State Conservation Commission Job Approval Authority. There's a system currently in Wisconsin, kind of a parallel system to NRCS, but the state can delegate out Job Approval Authority. It's a parallel system to how NRCS does things, but we're very interested in running with that here in Pennsylvania to get more capabilities into the district's hands as far as engineering goes. And now that we have a center engineer hopefully coming on board here soon, a couple months, we will be able to maybe support that engineering position with regional engineers housed at districts, which is another thing we're looking into right now to help with that engineering technical assistance backlog. So just to overview what I said, a center engineer with regional engineers housed at conservation districts that then can delegate job approval authorities out to conservation district staff for just ACAP only projects. Okay, that's kind of the system we're looking at running with right now. We're working on it, and hopefully after meeting on Friday, we'll keep that rolling and have a good plan to get it up to speed and out to you guys next couple months. NRCS is moving forward with their engineers and their retired cadre staff. They have, for the retired cadre, they have 4 people on the engineering side right now that are on board and 1 in ecological services. Those people are kind of part-time. We'll be out there helping districts and really focus on technical assistance and engineering. I think they're only working a couple days a week, maybe 1-2 days a week at this point, just to really help and go out in the field and bring districts along and teach them. So don't hesitate to reach out to anybody at NRCS to see if you can get in touch with them if you need some assistance or any training right now. They are on board, so don't hesitate to get in touch with them. They also hired one of their regional engineers. Again, their NRCS is hiring 5 regional engineers. One of them is in place right now. He is an EIT, I think, or he might just be a fresh graduate. So he's got a lot of training to do to get up to speed, but his main duties will be ACAP and EQIP combined projects. He's working out of Lebanon right now. So if you're in that area, he is available and you can reach out to him and NRCS to hopefully get things moving through him. And again, the commission, NRCS, Penn State, we will be meeting frequently over the next couple of months to keep coordinating the center, coordinating engineering, technical assistance to hopefully get to a point where we got this program running and there's not a huge engineering technical assistance backlog. Okay. Any questions so far? Put something in the chat. When we'll be able to do our first reimbursement? That's a great question, Willie, and I will let Eric handle that here in his quarterly report discussion. So Eric, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Justin. Well, I'll get to your question here in a little bit. Sort of want to discuss a few things here first. We've been discussing quarterly reporting, building this quarterly report form. We're currently in the draft form right now. So we've been currently working with that. Forms will be used until the new GIS system is completed. With the hopes of that is the GIS system will populate that quarterly report automatically, so that it'll take a lot of the legwork out of it for you guys. We are suggesting right now to hold off on your reimbursements. The reason for that is we are giving you guys an advancement on your funds, so you can probably pull your reimbursements from that advancement as long as you keep track of that until we get this GIS system up and running. We're hoping to have that GIS system up and running by the end of the next quarter. So if we can hold off, if districts can hold off, we suggest you to hold off on the quarterly reimbursements until then. If not, contact us. We can work through it, have you guys fill out the forms and everything like that. So like I said, once the GIS is complete, we'll have you guys utilize that system. And again, as I said, it should be the end of the first quarter of the 2023 fiscal year is when we're hoping to have that up and running. So just to show you a little bit of what the forms are going to look like, they look very similar to the Dirt and Gravel Road quarterly report form and the Conservation Excellence Grant quarterly reports as well. So we sort of combined the two of them. Justin, if you want to go to the next slide. So that right there sort of gives you the overview of what we're looking for. We want you to report your program income, whatever we advanced you, SEC replenishments. If we gave you a replenishment, we want that on the report, interest earned, and we want you to report your expenses as well. So that'd be administrative, technical assistance, projects, and if there's anything other than that, maybe some equipment that you need, that would fall under that other expense there. Next slide, Justin.
Eric, I think there must be a delay because I'm advancing them before you ask, so it must be a little bit of delay.
Okay, I'll just hold up till the next one comes up then. So we're going to have to keep track of your balances at the district. This is one of the big flaws that the CEG program had. It was hard for us to keep track of what was actually at the district at all times. So with the Dirt and Gravel Road, we saw that system. It keeps track of all that, and it keeps track of your advancements and everything like that. We just want you to report all those things. Activities, the program activities for the ACAP program. Like I said before, this is all going to be auto-populated. We want you to keep track of how many applications have come in, how many your board has approved or your committee has approved. Some of the planning assistance that you guys did on the ground. We want you to keep track of all that stuff. The quarterly ACAP funding available, that'll be auto-populated. The application that you receive in, you'll have some grant money requested, and whatever allocations in the projects. We want you to report all that and let us know how things are moving. This will give us a good idea of what is coming down the line, what you guys have lined up, and what funding you may need in the future. So it just helps us keep track of all funds coming in, what you have lined up, and what's going out. As part of the quarterly report, we will have you give a brief summary. It's a little bit difficult to put all this on one slide, so we decided to bullet point these. So we'll ask for a summary of the technical assistance, education, outreach, and promotional activities. So if you have if you go out to the farm or do an educational event, we want you to keep track of that. Just give us a brief description of what's going on in the county. Summary of the site visits, including pre-application visits conducted by the district. We want you to list all the employees that are either partially or fully funded by the ACAP program. It helps us keep track of who's working on what and who the point of contacts might be in your districts. Description of activities completed or time spent on the ACAP. ACAP quarterly activity reports will include a list of administrative technical assistance, expenses greater than $500. So example of this might be if you need a piece of equipment, whether it might be a GPS system for surveying or anything like that, we want you to list that there. So explain any income expenses listed under other and any additional comments. So this is shows you the project completion report. This is per project, so we want you to keep track of everything that's going in on the project.
Yeah, just touch on this, Eric, real quick. Those of you who work in the Dirt and Gravel Road program, this form will look awful familiar to you, except for the BMP reporting. It seems like in the ag world, there's a lot more BMPs than there are in the dirt and gravel world. So we kind of changed that form up, that reporting the BMPs to a list. That way we can, you can report the BMP number, give us a brief description, and tell us what, how many were installed there. So might make it a little easier on you than trying to fit things into categories that we don't have. Eric did a great job putting that.
Yeah, so basically we want you to keep track of the project. We're going to look at the project expenses. We'll look at the contract amount. You should have that up front. Any kind of amendments that might happen, we'll want you to put that in there. And then we'll combine that, so total commitment would be that final number there. As far as project expenses, it should be easy to break out your materials, equipment, and labor and engineering. If you're talking with a contractor and you're wanting to get some quotes for a project, I would list all of these separately. So they're giving you a good indication of what materials they might need, the equipment and labor. It'll help you in the long run when you're filling out these quarterly reports. So if that's all possible, like I said, get the quotes for that. And we also want you to try to keep track of the landowner contributions. Some of these landowners will be able to do some of this work on their own. So just add all those together, and then we'll just figure out what the total the project cost is. There's a big push from higher ups from us to get a total project, not just whatever grant funding went into it. It's just to sort of see how much the landowners are contributing, how much the dollars being stretched with this grant money. So we just try to keep track of the whole project as a whole, not just the grants. And we'll just try to do the best we can. I know sometimes it's not possible, but let's try to do the best we can. So in all, we got a project cost summary. We'll keep track of that. And if there's any additional notes, we just need to put that at the end of the completion report.
Yeah, Eric, just to touch on that
Yep.
in-kind number. One of the things that made Dirt and Gravel so successful with the legislatures was we were able to show them every year that for every dollar of dirt and gravel funds we were spending, we were getting 33 cents extra added value to the project that we weren't spending. So really the the program funds were stretched an extra 35% every year. And the legislature really likes that number, like to help them with, continued funding and justifying the expenses. So, yeah, if you guys could keep reporting that similar for this, that'd be very helpful for us and helping us to keep this going. Sounds like someone has a mic on. I'll find them here.
I got it, Justin.
You got it. All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right. Move on.
All right. So this here is just a brief overview of the BMPs. Like Justin said earlier, the BMPs are a lot more with the agricultural side as opposed to the dirt and gravel road. So we're hoping this is going to be auto generated with the GIS system. Basically, you could have 10 to 15 different BMPs on a project, and it's a little bit harder to calculate that using the dirt and gravel road system. So we threw this together just to keep track of the BMPs, the description of that, the units planned and installed quantities. So like I said, if we need to fill these out by hand, we can. We're trying to suggest you to hold off as long as possible till we get this GIS system up and running and enter all the data into at one time, which it shouldn't be that much of a deal. I know we'll have some projects going on that we might not be able to, but if you're one of those districts, like I said, reach out to us. We can work through these forms and everything. But the hope is to have that GIS system in place so we don't have to worry about filling these out by hand.
Right. Yeah. The goal there would be to just put it in the system once it's up and running. But we understand, like, you guys might need some money now. You might have spent through a bunch of your advance already. So if that's the case, definitely reach out to us. We'll help you work through this. But we were hoping to avoid having you fill these out on paper and then have to go back in and put them in the system later. But, if we can't avoid it, we can't. And obviously, we want to get you money to keep you running. So we don't want that to be a holdup either. If you run into that, just reach out, like Eric said.
Justin, did you want to take over this replenishment request?
Yes, sir. I'll run with it. Again, this is something the dirt and gravel road system fills out automatically, and we hope the GIS will fill this out, right? So if you're reporting in your quarterly report your admin, technical assistant, project expenses, the system can auto tabulate those numbers, fill this out. And I think if I zoom in here, like, all this stuff can be auto filled with the GIS. Everything is standard. Like, the district stuff is all the same for all these, so we should be able to auto populate that with the system. Again, same with these numbers. And then I believe in the dirt and gravel road system, once the manager approves it, their digital signature goes on here, and then we can get Doug's digital signature as well, and it'll just print out an invoice. So basically, what we need, like, when you request money from us, we can't just go into the system and give you more money. We need a form that shows how you spent the money, some backup documentation. That's what these quarterly reports are for. And that's what this form right here tells the comptrollers, like, hey, we spent this much on these different activities. The district is requesting this much. The district says, yep, I swear that we spent the money on these things. And Doug signs it. And then we are able to put that in the system and get you more money. So that's where this form really comes into play, getting you money. I think that's the end. Okay, Eric, we had a bunch of questions come in the chat. Let's see if we can go down through them again and we'll hit them. So Willie, I think your question about when you'll be able to do your first reimbursement, we would like you again to hold off until the system's in place, but if not, by all means, give Eric or I a call and we'll help you work through that, and we'll set up a time to discuss it. Thank you. Next question. On the ACAP application is a list of attachments needed before applying. I'd have to bring the form up to know exactly what she's talking about there. Is there a finalized list of requirements, or is there a more extensive list? Can you explain the district cooperator form? Okay, so district cooperator form. I don't even know what that is. Eric, do you know what that is?
Yeah, so district cooperator form, some districts have it, some districts don't. Basically, it's a form authorizing the conservation district to go on the property and cooperate with the farmer. This is an older form that some conservation districts have. Some of them have gotten rid of the district cooperator form, but if they have it and they want to use it, that's not all possible. That's why there's an if applicable beside that.
Let me see if I can bring up the application quick so I can see what they're talking about with section 3. Do you know, Eric, off the top of your head?
Yeah, I would have to bring it up too. It's been a little while since I looked at it. So basically, there was some maps, I believe. There was the verification form, which is to verify that they have a conservation plan, ag E&S plan, nutrient management plan, or manure management plan. There you go. You got the project description, project cost estimates, plan verification form. I just explained that on the maps. That includes these imageries and the soils. The reason why we want the soils is on there to see if we have any karst geology or karst soils. Of course, project photos for before construction, and that USDA and NRCS authorization for release of records. If the producer is working with NRCS, you'll have to have the farmer sign that form and give to you guys so they can release the records. If you guys would want other forms or attachments to come in with that, you can add to it. These were just a suggestion. So if you think you need to add something to it, feel free to add to it.
Okay. Let's see. The next question, Chris Thompson. Will CEG program be moved over to the GIS reporting system? It's a great question, Chris. We would hope to in the future. There's no immediate plans for that. Right now, we're focusing this on ACAP. And it would be nice to move that over, but we're going to have to figure that out down the road, I think. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I would love to move. I had a thought that maybe we could even use that as a pilot to see if we could work with Practice Keeper, because everything's in Practice Keeper right now. It's a possibility we might use that as a pilot to see how things would work back and forth. So it is a possibility we'll move it over to this new GIS. That's my hope and goal, but we'll see how everything works out.
Yep. Next question was, Michelle, will you be distributing reporting requirements so we can start tracking? Yeah, we'll get you these forms so you have an idea what they'll be and what the system will look like so you can keep track of everything. And we're also working on a documents page for our website right now, so we have all the documents on there. It's just taking a little while to get IT up and running with that. And yep, we'll send you the completion report and we'll make it available. Lisa, how are you handling interest earned? Will we be held to spend our funds from the agreement plus the interest? Yes. And interest must be spent on projects as well. That's right in either in the guidelines or the required output measures. I think it's in the guidelines. Similar to dirt and gravel. Yep, you have to spend your funds plus interest. So are we entering into Practice Keeper and also in this system for ACAP? No, ACAP, you are only going to be entering into this GIS system. The whole point, one of the big points of this new GIS is to eliminate double reporting. So with Practice Keeper, we would have had to implement our own quarterly report financial tracking system, and you would have had to go like into Greenport or some other type of system to do the quarterly report stuff. So we wanted to keep it simple like dirt and gravel roads and have a one-stop reporting spot for you to fill all that stuff out. Plus, maybe down the road we can incorporate a lot of other systems into this and make it more of a one spot to fill things out.
Justin, but doesn't that fly then in the face of DEP in the Bay and getting all this stuff into that system?
Great question. Yeah. No, we can report to DEP what they need for the Bay.
Yeah, Jeff, it's our hope that we'll be able to talk with Practice Keeper. They'll tell us what they want from us, and the GIS system will automatically send that over, whether it's real time or every quarter or whatever it may be. So
it'll upload the system then from yours.
Yep.
And fill out all of the stuff related. Yeah. Okay. Because what we're entering here would be conservation plans and Ag E&S plans as a total, and then going back in with those BMPs and putting that information in. Yeah, you guys want to talk to some districts that are using PK for that one, because I think it's easier to probably go the other way, but you guys can figure that one out.
Yeah, we did a survey last time, and it was like 60-40 split for using dirt and gravel instead of with our last survey. So that was kind of one of the reasons we went that way. Plus, it was less complicated. But if there's some certain things you guys want us to enter in this system,
yeah, because
with that, let us know. We can talk.
Chris's follow-up question down there below mine about the CBP 23, like all of that information is going to be reported back to DEP. So if that's not getting into PK, you'll have districts that are submitting CBP 23s that are not fully filled out from that information.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk outside so we can make sure we're not double reporting. Good.
Or missing.
Yeah,
or missing. Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Good point.
And realize also, gentlemen, that, although it's not double reporting on your end, it's still us using two different systems on our end. So, I understand what you're doing, and I like the dirt and gravel road system too, the way it works. But, just understand that it's still not simplifying things necessarily for the districts.
Okay, thank you. Tom, what is the status of ACAP policy document that we are supposed to be following to implement the program? Great question, Tom. So in your delegation agreement that you guys signed and sent back, there is a guidelines and required output measures attached to that. Those are your policies. We also have a question and answer document that's on our website, I think. But we sent that out to all districts that we're using kind of as a temporary ACAP policy manual. It's not anything formal yet. There is no administrative manual yet, but if the districts are asking us to do an admin manual right now, we would be happy to fast track that. If that's what you guys are interested in, just let us know. But really the policies are set in that Q&A document and through these meetings and through your guidelines and required output measures. So if you have any specific policy questions, by all means, reach out and let us know. We'll be happy to cover them with you. Eric, anything you want to add there?
Nope.
All right. We had a question from a potential applicant about tax implications. How should farmers account for the payments? This came up, I think, a couple times now. And Eric, you kind of know more about this than me, but from what I understand, a farmer will input in his taxes the grant income, and then in the very next line there's a grant expenses column, and as long as those are done in the same year, the income and expenses, there won't be tax implications in that year. But really the farmer should probably be talking to a tax professional, because there's ways they can finagle that and make it move to be in the benefit of the farmer for taxes that I would never be able to explain to you. Eric, anything you want to add?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any tax implications. Like I said, there'll be grant incomes and grant expenses going right back out. The only time you get any tax implications is if the farmer shows that he's got more grant income than he had grant expenses, and then he'll have some tax implications with that. But if he's doing it right, then he shouldn't have any tax implications.
Okay, great. Has a final buffer policy been released? Should that be included in the policy document? Yeah, that'll go out in the Q&A for now until we get it. But yes, when was that? January? The commission passed the buffer policy. Let's see if I can find it. Eric, you want to try to dig that up while I move on to the next question? Yeah. And we can share it so you can see it. yes, mentioning interest, does the ACAP funding need to be managed in its own savings account? I believe we intended to have it ACH deposited into our main account. So you don't have to have separate accounts, but you need to have separate accounting. So I think that covers that very well. You just need to keep track of it separately, but you don't have to have your own. Can districts add this to Practice Keeper for our own record gathering? Chris, I think what you mean is like add all of the BMPs and things to Practice Keeper, or what are you? If that's the case, we're hoping that we will auto-populate the practices into Practice Keeper through DEP. That's something we're working on with our new system, but that has to be figured out yet. If you want to talk more about that, Chris, give us a call or send me an email. Yes, you're unsure of how we track interest if we're not depositing. So, well, man, you guys think of everything. Is there any district out there that does that now, tracks interest on the main account, or do you guys all put it into other separate accounts? Anybody have some advice there for Jess?
In Blair County, prior to having separate accounts for the dirt and gravel and low volume road projects, we would be able to use the monthly interest on the checking account statement at that point and calculate it out manually. So, I guess that's something that could be done.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. Like, all the programs that put money in there, and then you could kind of split it out percentage-wise of how much went to each program. Kind of a Cherry law would call it a cost allocation method, something similar to that. If you find a decent way to keep track of it that way. But Jess, if you want, send me an email. We'll follow up and we can talk more in depth about how to do that. Come up with a good way to do it.
This is Michelle from Pike. If you can class out the interest in QuickBooks, if that's what we have done in the past. The separate accounting within there that you can do. I could probably explain it better, Jess, if you wanted to give me a call.
Thanks, Michelle. We don't use QuickBooks. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how we would track interest. And Justin, you're stating that we need to track the interest, correct? Just like we do in dirt and gravel low volume?
Yes. Yep. You got to track interest.
The separate account may be the best option. Does anybody have did they set up separate accounts for ACAP funding?
Yes.
Yes, we're setting up a separate account.
Thank you. That probably would be easiest.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Great way to answer these questions. Everybody chiming in. I appreciate it. I think someone has a hand up. Willie, yep. You got a question? Go ahead.
Sorry, that was earlier. It was answered, and it wasn't showing me that my hand was up.
That's okay. I think Eric is sharing a copy of the setback policy right now. So this setback policy is passed by the commission. It goes into effect, I believe, January 1st of 24. And what that means, what it basically means is after contracts signed after January 1st of 24, you have to follow this buffer policy. And yes, Michelle, we can send this out again. Make sure we can put it on our website too. Make sure that's on that document page. But basically, if a buffer is required by the plan for the operation, if an applicant is receiving ACAP funding for animal waste storage or heavy use protection, they have to agree as a condition of their ACAP contract to maintain an average of 35-foot setbacks from streams and water bodies on the property where the BMPs is being installed to ensure livestock do not have unrestricted access to the stream or water. Okay. there is a waiver written in there. So the commission has the ability to waive that requirement in certain circumstances. So feel free to reach out to us if you want a waiver on that. We'll come out and look at it and see if we can get you a waiver. And I think there's that second paragraph talks about access to water. We want the animals to have access to water. That's preferably not the stream, right? Because we want to keep them out of the stream as much as possible to help improve that water quality. So if you can do a watering system, that's great, or like a stable stream crossing where they can get access to it is a kind of a follow-up to that. So yeah, that's the policy, and we'll get it out to you. I think that covers the majority of our questions. I didn't miss any in there. Right now, there's only a application BMP list and yep. Thanks, Michelle. We're working on getting more documents on there. Have a standalone document page. We're waiting on IT to get that stuff up and running. So hopefully that'll be soon. If not, we can email out a blast of documents to everybody again.
Yeah, right now we're trying to set up one place that we can give you a link to go to all of our documents. We're trying to get that set up with IT. They told us to set up a Google Drive, but we don't have access to Google Drive. So we're trying to figure things out on that end. As soon as that's up and running, we'll send an email out to all you districts and let you know that the documents are up and available for you guys.
Okay, Maria said, are there any counties where the district isn't the one managing the ACAP grant? We had one district who didn't take the allocation, so we'll likely be, or the delegation, so the commission will be implementing it there. And I think there's a couple other counties where there's two counties that are sharing duties. One county's implementing it for another, but I'm not aware of anyone like in your situation where an outside entity is managing it in replacement of the district. I think you would be the only one I'm aware of currently. Let's see. Do ACAP policy and ranking documents need to be formally approved during a public meeting? Yes, if you're going to be implementing policy locally, your policy has to be approved at an open to the public meeting. Same with your ranking form. Any update on education brochure? Yeah, Jess, we're still waiting on press office to formally approve that document. I think we could send that out with a draft on it so everybody could maybe start personalizing at this point. I don't know that we've been waiting on them pretty long here. So Eric, I know we were just talking about that this morning, an educational brochure. Maybe we can send that out with anything else we're going to send them.
Okay.
So, yep. Thanks, Jess. Good question.
Looks like John from Cambria has his hand up.
Okay. Yep. Hey, John. How's it going?
Good. Thanks, Dustin.
Yep.
This is kind of off topic a little bit, but what I wanted to know is, I think one of the purposes of the legislation was to keep things as simple for the farmers as possible, especially with applications and funding.
Yep.
Has there been any consideration to being able to kind of pivot to similar to how NRCS funds EQIP contracts, just kind of basic on like an incentive, flat rate of, X number of dollars per foot of fence installed, or, X number of dollars per square foot of heavy use area installed? I mean, we're talking with guys, and when they're in the office and we're starting to explain, prevailing wage and bidding requirements and all this other stuff, they just look at us and, are kind of dumbfounded that it's easier to get money through a federal agency than it is, through, a local conservation district. So, I mean, I know that's on our end to educate and help them through that process, but, do you think there will be some way maybe in the future to pivot to that type of environment, to like make it easier to where we could just say, look, if you're doing this, we'll pay you this, and it's as simple as that?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. And honestly, Carl Brown, he worked on all that stuff early on last year before I was on board, and that was all like set before I came in that we weren't able to do that. But I don't know why or how that came about. So maybe I can look into it again and see what happened there and why the reasons where we went away from that. But I know like we are able to do it with like cover crops. So it might be something that's feasible, but we'd have to take a really close look at it because they kind of wanted the system to be set up just like dirt and gravel roads. So that's how we've been running with it from there with like, reimbursement of actual costs. And it might be in the legislation somewhere. I'm drawing a blank at the current moment, but great question. I'll look in Carl's notes, see what he has about it, see if I can find out what's going on there. Eric, you may know.
Yeah, we were in talks with early on in the CEG whether to go that route or whether to do a cost share. The incentive, I mean, you got to update that regularly, which it'll give you a lot more time and a lot more energy to put that system in place. And just a good example, NRCS got in trouble. They lost a lot of contracts because they had that incentive, and the price of construction materials skyrocketed, and they didn't have anything in place to adjust to that skyrocket of material cost, and they sort of put them in a bad position. And it's a little bit easier to go back and get a final product and your project cost on the back end and give a percentage on that, rather than going through each BMP and say, hey, we're going to pay you this much or whatever it may be, because you got to constantly adjust that price basically on a yearly and not maybe even a quarterly basis. So that's the reason we went with the cost share rate. And there's nothing in the legislation stating that you couldn't put that in place if you wanted to, John. But if you want to do the legwork and put that system in place, I'm not opposed to that. But the reason we didn't do that because it's just the amount of work that it would have to go into putting those costs out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other documents or forms in addition to policy and ranking that must be publicly approved? Good question. Policy and ranking are only the ones that come to mind at the moment. Trying to think what you would have to publicly approve outside of that. I'm not thinking of any at the moment. Eric, do you know of any?
No, I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Those would be your local things that you got to set up. So that would be about it.
Hey, Justin, this is Laurel.
Yeah.
If a district does use a district cooperator form, those are usually publicly approved as well.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, good addition. For a cover crop program, are farmers able to sign a contract for more than one season at a time? And if so, is that contract still limited to the 2-year time frame requirement? Eric, I'm not super familiar with cover crop stuff. Do you want to talk to
that? I mean, I'll throw out CEG as an example. We do allow them to sign a 2-year contract for cover crops, but we haven't really dove into the cover crop program as far as ACAP is required. That would, if you guys want to discuss offline or anything like that, we'd be more than happy to sit down with you and talk to you offline about that cover crop. But yeah, I think cover crops is going to be a big topic here. So if any district has any questions or anything like that, contact us with your questions so we can work through that. We'll probably have a bigger discussion on cover crops a little bit later down the road here. So
yeah, we're definitely gonna have to discuss it. The last meeting, the commission asked us to try to come up with a way to cap costs on cover crops. So that may be something they're looking for us to do quicker. But if we develop any policies, we'll have to set up our advisory committee to go over any of that stuff and try to help us come up with a policy for that. But if you guys have any ideas on cover crop caps or policies or anything like that, by all means, send us our way, because we're going to be figuring that out as we go here in the next couple months.
Yeah, and we ask you to do that sooner rather than later, because if we have to get something together, I mean, some guys start planting cover crops in July once their wheat and their small grains come off, so we might have to get something in place by that time.
Jason, with regard to cover crops or other incentives, is there any policy or recommendation to help prevent double dipping with payment? Example, cover crops funded by both NRCS and ACAP. Oh man, is there a way to know, I guess, if NRCS is giving them payments? I don't know how we would do that to know if they were trying to double dip or not ahead of time before we approve it. It's a very good question. Maybe I can talk with Denise about that on Friday. I can mention it and see how we would do that. Eric, you have any ideas?
Yeah, the only thing I can think to put in place would be to ask them if they're getting any funds for cover crops in any other program. The only way I can think of how to remedy that.
Yeah, hey guys, this is Jason. I had considered putting in like a self-certification letter or something along those lines, that the farmer would just say or state that they weren't accepting cover crop funding from elsewhere. I just didn't know what the legalities of that were.
Yeah, I think that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Jason.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yep, thank you. Erica, we're trying to get projects moving ASAP. Should we be holding off a little longer? Oh man, I don't want you to tell you to hold up at all. I'm trying to think of what would hold you up from approving projects at this point. You have an application, you have ranking, you have funding maybe at this point. Even if not, it's coming. So what else would you need? You got a local policy in place? Think you're good to go. Eric, anything?
Nope. If you can get some projects started, go ahead.
Yep. Heck yeah. I'm going.
Erica, you want to chime in? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my question was more, and we have a lot of people interested in, cover crops and soil health practices, as well as some of our, harder BMPs. But with all these questions coming up, I was kind of wondering, are we moving ahead too quickly with this if there's going to be extra policies or something?
Well, yeah, and I would assume policies that come down the road are going to be, oh man, I hate hearing myself speak. I would assume policies coming down the road are going to be implemented like we normally do, which says any contract from here on has to follow that policy. So, but if if you're worried about double dipping and you don't have a local policy on that, and that's a good thing to try to eliminate. I mean, by all means, add that in before you start. But we are on tight time frames here, so I don't know that we're going to have every situation figured out, and every policy is not going to be in place right now for things that may happen in the future that we don't know about. So again, policy is going to change as this program grows and we see issues, just like that double dipping thing that may create a policy down the road. And a cap from the commission may come in down the road, but I don't foresee them being backdated to things that were already done. Like, the commission knew that with the setback policy. When we put that in place, they were very worried about having districts have to go back and redo contracts. So, that's why they set it as January 24. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Erica.
Yeah, thanks.
Is there any guidance on using the ranking form that was provided? Yes, Michelle, we did a whole webinar on that, on forms and policy and ranking. I think that's on our website. Eric, is that saved?
Yep. Yeah, it should be on there. The ranking form that was sent out, that was just a template. There's some state questions on there that we need you to use because that's in the enabling legislation. But if there's any questions that you want to add to it, feel free to add to it. If you want to put it in a Word document, put it in a Word document, make it work for you. That was just a template that we sent out just to give you an idea of what it may look like in your county.
Is there a draft local policy that we can develop our own county policies for? Yes, Eric put together a draft policy too, and I know several other districts out there have ones already. McKean County has a very good one. There's some other districts out there that have good policies, so feel free to reach out to your neighbors too. But send Eric an email. I think he has the most up-to-date copy of that policy or state draft. And again, like, these are just draft state policies. You can gear your program locally as long as you stay within your guidelines and required output measures. That you'll be able to cover that. So, when was the ranking policy webinar? What is the title? I don't know. Which one? Do you remember which one we did that?
I think it's the March 8th one. I could be wrong on that. It's either the February one or the March one, I believe.
See if I have notes in my. Looks like March was bidding and engineering. February was setbacks and document review. So it would be the February is where we did the ACAP document application and ranking, grantee agreement, and agreement amendment. So it would have been the February 8th call.
Yep.
Eric, maybe when we get that document page up, once it's finally going, we can add a little description of what's covered. Yep. You know, like in those, like when we do these slides that in the beginning that updates what we're going to talk about, we can just copy and paste that in there so everybody knows what's in each one. Yep. Make it a little easier to find.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, great. Any other questions, comments?
Justin, I did have one other question. If we need an advance payment before the GIS system is up and running, are we going to have access to the paper forms to be able to request that?
Yeah, if you want to do that, reach out to us. We'll set up a time to talk and go over what we need exactly from you before we do that.
Okay.
And we'll send out the draft forms we have right now after this meeting. I hate to do that because then people just save them and use them down the road. And if we got to make any minor tweaks in there, we'll make sure it says draft on it, but that doesn't always mean people see that. We end up getting a bunch of old forms back down the road. But hopefully we don't have to use those forms long term. Hopefully the GIS will be running here soon and we can switch to that. But yeah, we'll get you a copy of those. That way you know what's in it and what's coming. But yeah, send me an email, Willie. We'll set up a time to talk. Okay, Carl, still looking for clarification on ACAP and EQIP work on the same farm. Is prevailing wage required if ACAP is paying for a BMP on a farm and EQIP is paying for a separate BMP on the same farm? Yeah, Carl, that's a great question. And actually, there's a district meeting with labor and industry right now. We couldn't make that call because we had this one, but they're talking with Brian. There is a way to separate. But it's got to be like a separate, they call it a separate distinct project. And unfortunately, in most cases, like they will combine them and say it's prevailing wage on the whole project, the whole farm. But there is a way to do it. And talking to Brian, it sounds very complicated and it has to be a very specific set of sequences that let them say it's a separate project. I don't have every detail on that, but if you have a situation where you think it might apply, maybe we can set up a time to talk with Brian, and he can go over like projects specifically. And that's kind of how those are going to have to work. They're going to have to be on a case by case basis because it's fairly complicated to do that. Until we can get like a real firm grasp on how those separate out and run with them from there. But kind of complicated. The old fallback is it's prevailing wage on the whole thing, and that's usually what the way those go. But again, if you have a specific one you want to try, let's talk to labor and industry, and they'll get you a determination on it. As always, you guys got great questions, keeping us on our toes and helping us move this program forward. So really appreciate it. Definitely got a list of things we need to work on from here. Keep going, and appreciate your time and all your questions. And as always, reach out, email, phone call anytime. Me, Eric, Amy, anybody on staff here will be happy to get you an answer. So thanks a lot. Don't see anything else pop up. We'll call it a day. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.